screen. Yes, share. Okay. So now you can you see my whole screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. To start with, okay, yeah, sorry. Okay, so the first thing I want to mention is I know somebody was having trouble with the reasoner, and I don't know if this is what the problem was, but this would be a good thing for everybody to check. So go to open up Protege and go to reasoner and go to configure. Okay, and now you'll see you should see something like this, and check all the boxes. And you may get a couple of warnings that says checking this box, may make things run slowly, but don't worry about it because the size of the ontologies that we're dealing with are so small that that doesn't matter. So it may be that this inverse properties wasn't checked for the person who wasn't having that happen. I mean, I'm not sure. That might not be the problem, but that was something I should have thought of last night or the other day. And just in general, I want to make sure that if these should be checked for all of these should be checked for everybody for going forward. Okay. Okay. So now the next thing is everybody should download the ontology with data, and I'm trying to find where my chat window went. Oh, here we go.
Shall I say? Okay, yeah, you got it.
There it is. So, yeah. Go to this URL and download this ontology, and then load that ontology into Protege. Okay, and then, well, the first thing I just want to show everybody is go to Windows, Views, or sorry, Tabs, and SPARQL Query, and then click on the SPARQL Query tab. Well, if it's checked, then it should already be there. Just go and select it. If it's not checked, click on it, and then that will bring it up, and then you can select it. And so go to the SPARQL Query tab.
Professor Michael, can you please share the URL from where we need to pick up the?
It's I put it in the chat. It's
not there in the chat.
It's not there. Oh, maybe I see. Sorry, it was. It's because I was chatting with Biswanith. I need to. I see. Thank you.
I have posted it, Michael. So no problem.
Okay.
Yeah. It's on the common chat box now.
But I wanted to change mine anyway. So, okay, yeah.
In the
Now
chat room,
my chat's been changed, so now they'll go to everyone now on.
Waiting room. Oh, no. Goes here and there. Everyone.
Okay. While I'm waiting for everybody to load that, I just want to point out one more time. Make sure you go to Reasoner Configure and make sure that all the boxes are checked for displayed inferences, because that might have been. I know somebody was having problems with the inverses that last time, and it's possible that was what the problem was. Okay, does everyone have, is there anyone who needs more time to load the ontology? Just speak up if you need more time. Okay, all right, so first I'm just going to show you, so go to the SPARQL Query tab, and if you just hit execute, and now you'll see this is, so remember, these are all the prefixes. And this is saying it's selecting the subject and object, where subject is RDFS subclass of object. So the subject is going to be every class that has a that is the subclass of some other class. So named pizza is a subclass of pizza. Soho pizza is a subclass of named pizza. And see these things here, like has spiciness value mild. All these things here are examples of what I was talking about as anonymous classes. So these are classes that, they don't show up in the class hierarchy view here, but they do show up in various query views like here. Okay. And by the way, so please interrupt me if anything's not clear, if you have questions, if something's not working. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep on going. But I really want people to ask questions if you don't understand something, and or if something isn't working the way it should be. Okay, so now so this is the default query that you get with that will work on any ontology you load into Protégé, because you can see all these prefixes here. None of these are specific to the domain. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a prefix for the pizza tutorial. And so to do that, I'm going to so take this this statement. This statement that I just put in the chat, and copy that and insert that right below the last prefix tab or the last prefix statement rather, in the SPARQL query window. Okay, so now it should look like this. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to, and I've added, the reason I had you download that new ontology is because I've added things like customers and employees and a bunch of pizzas that were purchased by customers. So we're sort of modeling a pizza restaurant. So the first query we're going to have you do is this one. Okay, so we're going to select the customers and pizza where customer purchased a pizza purchased some pizza. So every customer that has purchased some pizza, and we're going to order that by the customer. Okay, so you can replace this thing and then paste in that query and then hit execute. Now, one thing I want you to notice as you look at this, you'll see nothing shows up for, oh, actually, one other thing, make sure you run the reasoner. I do that. Yes. Make sure you run the reasoner. Make sure you go to reasoner and do start reasoner and make sure pellet is the selected reasoner. Then one thing I want you to notice is that here, customer 10 doesn't show up as a customer. But if you look at the individuals by class tab and you go here and then go look at customer 10, you will see that indeed customer 10 has purchased a pizza, which is a Soho pizza. So you might be wondering, well, why didn't that show up in the query? And if you also notice though, this is highlighted in yellow. So most of the assertions about pizzas that were purchased, I put directly on the customer. So like if you notice here, it's not highlighted in yellow because I directly added the data. But to mix things up a little bit, I also went to some of the pizzas, and so specifically Soho Pizza 2. And as you can see here, I said purchased by customer 10. And if I go back to customer 10, and I see it's inference, and if I click on that, it says that, you know, the reasoner knows that because purchased by customer and purchased pizza are inverses of each other, it knows that that's why I only have to assert it on one and it's asserted on the other. However, with the SPARQL implementations in Protege, they don't take notice of the inferences of the reasoner. Now, that's not the case with all the implementations of SPARQL, like the implementation in Allegro that I use most of the time. It does take note of things that have been asserted by the reasoner. And I'm not sure I would imagine the one on GraphDB probably does too. But for the ones in Protege, that's a limitation you should just be aware of, is that anything that's been inferred by the reasoner is not going to be seen by SPARQL, okay? So another way to see that is we're going to do a different query. So we're going to do the query that goes the other way, okay? So before we did select customer that was purchased pizza, some pizza. Now we're going to do pizza that was purchased by customer, okay? So go to here, get rid of this again, delete that, and then paste this new query and hit execute. And so you can see here's customer 10 and here's customer 4. These are the two where I put the assertion on the pizza rather than on the customer. Now, is that clear? Is there anyone who has questions about that? Okay, good. Now, a logical question to ask then is, well, what if you want to get them both? And remember, I mentioned the union clause in my presentation. That's what you can do to make sure you get them both. So essentially, this query, okay, I'm going to essentially take, what I'm really doing is I'm taking these two where clauses, the where clause from the first query and the where clause from the second query. And now I'm just combining them together. I'm saying take the union of those two queries and then give me all the customers and pizzas for that query. Okay, so again, go here, delete the previous query. And notice you always want to keep the prefixes there because you always need those. And I'm going to do this one. So where customer purchased pizza, and union with pizza was purchased by customer. So I'm going to hit execute on that. And so see here, now you see customer 10 does show up this time. Okay. Now, another query tool within Protege is something called the DL query. Then stands for description logic. So go to your Windows and go to tabs and and if DL query isn't selected, then select DL query. And if it is selected, that means it's there already, and just go and click on that tab. And here you can do pizza and purchased by customer, some customer. I'll put that in. Okay. And you put that in the query expression here. In fact, actually, I'm going to show you. So this does the autocomplete the way everything else does in the Protege UI. So I can do pizza and I just type PUR and then I type control space. And so see, it gives me two different ones. I'm going to do a purchase by customer. Some customer. Oops. And you need to, now notice nothing shows up, but that's because you got to go to the right here and click on the instances box. And so now notice all the pizzas show up here, whereas however, only two were actually showed up when the purchase by customer. And that's because this view, this does take into consideration things that have been asserted by the reasoner, okay? Whereas the SPARQL doesn't, but the DL query view does. So that's one of the important distinctions between the two of them. And in fact, you don't even really need to say pizza here. You could just say purchased by customer, some customer, and you still get the same results. Okay, now any questions so far? Okay, good. So now we're going to go back to the SPARQL query, and now this time we're going to count the number of pizzas that have been purchased. Okay, so here's the query we're going to do. We're going to do, again, where customer purchase pizza, and then, but this time rather than selecting the customers and the pizzas, we're just going to count the pizza and return that as p count, and then that's what's going to be returned is the p count. Okay, now you see that gives us 15, which again, that's actually not the correct number because it's only counting the ones that are on the purchase pizza property, it's not counting the inverse properties. Now, I happen to also record for each customer the number of pizzas that they purchased. So what I can also do is I can just sum that number, okay? So the property that records the number of pieces purchased for a customer is called number of pieces purchased. So I'm going to do this query, which is going to, it's going to, this where statement is going to return the number of pizzas purchased for each customer. But then this, the select query, in the select part of the query, rather than just displaying, so what it could do is I could show for each customer the number of pizzas that they purchased, but instead I'm going to do the sum, and I'm just going to sum them all up. Okay, so now notice that when I do that, now I get 17, which is the correct number. So that's including, oh, did I forget this? Sorry, I forgot to hit return on that one. So this is the query you should use now. I get 17 now instead of 15, which is the correct number, because I'm summing the number of pizzas purchased property for each customer. Any questions on that? Okay, the next one is I want to know what's the average number of pizzas that the customers have purchased. So for that, I use, essentially all I do is I just change one thing, whereas before I had some, sorry about that. Whereas before I had some here, now I use average. And in fact, rather than, I'm just gonna change that one term, okay, average, and hit execute, and you'll notice it's 1.7 because I was lazy and I didn't want to enter a lot of data, so I entered either 1 or 2 pizzas, I think, for every customer, and the average turned out to be 1.7. Okay, and any questions on that? Okay, so now let's go back to the DL query window. And by the way, notice that on subclasses, it shows OWL nothing. That's because, remember what I said earlier. So OWL nothing is the empty set, and the empty set is a subset of every set. So OWL nothing, therefore, is a subclass of every class. So no matter what I put in here, so I could put in like customer. Oops. Okay, so that gives me all the instances of customer, and notice OWL nothing is always going to be actually, but instead I'm going to put in I bet this is annoying. I don't know why it's not letting, okay. Good. So instead, I'm going to, oh, I see why it's not doing that. Okay. So I'm just going to put in the person class here. So notice here now it shows me the subclasses of person as well as all the instances of all of the subclasses of person. So it's not, so in fact, none of these are actually direct instances of person. These are all instances of either customer or employee. But, and again, this is the difference between the DL query versus the SPARQL query. If I went into the SPARQL query and said, in fact, why don't I do that? So this query says, give me all the, in SPARQL, give me all the instances of person, but because in SPARQL, it doesn't use the reasoner, it's just giving me all the direct instances of person. And like if I go to the individuals by class, you can see that there's no instances that are directly instances of person. All the instances are either instances of customer or instances of employee. So let's go back to the DL query again, and we're going to try another a little bit more complex. Oh, and I'll paste that here for you. Okay, so customer and purchase pizza, some has toppings. So in other words, this says customer and purchase pizza with a topping that has spicing, that is a hot topping, has spiciness value hot. Okay, and you can see that customer 1, customer 4, customer 8, and customer 9. And if I look at, let's look at customer 1, you can see they purchased pizza, Americana hot pizza. They purchased 2 of those pizza, Americana hot pizzas. So that's why they satisfied this DL query. And a simpler topic, a simpler query I can do here is just has topping, some has spiciness value hot. So that's just saying some topping that has a spiciness value of hot. Okay, and so this is this implicitly is defining a pizza, even though I actually could have said here as well if I wanted to. And it will still be the same thing, but I didn't really need to because it implicitly knows that the only things that have toppings are pizzas. So again, the reasoner is doing work for you. It knew that the only things that could satisfy that would be instances of pizza, and specifically the subclasses Americana hot pizza and hot veggie pizza. And then these are the instances of that also satisfy that. And the last one I'm going to do is more complicated. So if you recall, we asserted an order on our individuals. So the spiciness individuals, hot, medium, and mild. So we asserted that hot is spicier than medium and mild. Medium is spicier than mild, and the reasoner inferred that it's milder than hot. And mild, the reasoner inferred both, that it's milder than medium and it's milder than hot. And the reasoner was able to infer that because when it looks at the is spicier than, it's both transitive and its inverse is milder than. So that's why it was able to infer all those additional values for us. We didn't have to enter them. So if I say vegetarian pizza and has topping, some spiciness and so I'm saying I want some vegetarian, I want all the vegetarian pizzas that have a topping whose spiciness is milder than hot. So in other words, it's either medium or mild. And when I get that, I get these 4 instances as these are the individuals, and these are the subclasses that satisfy this expression. So one thing I want to emphasize is that, when you're writing description logic axioms, things like this, when you're defining classes, if you find that some class, you define some class and it doesn't work the way you expect it to, this is a good tool to help you debug why things may not be working the way you expect. You can go in here and you can type these kind of queries and see what gets returned in terms of subclasses and instances. And you can also, if you look over here, you can also ask, there's other things you can ask for, like superclasses. That's a powerful tool to help debug when things aren't working as you expect them to with your description logic axiom. Okay, that's all I wanted to do in terms of queries with the the pizza ontology. Do people have access to the Into ontology?
Yeah, they can download it from our website. That's there.
Okay, so I just have what do you think?
But they won't be able to get that knowledge graph itself, that the big one. That's not there on our site. Okay, because I told you that other issue. So
well, yeah, the one I'm just using the one that you gave me, which I think you said is the one that you're going to use for the workshop.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, that we can share. Yes.
Okay, it's up to you. I only have a few queries. Do you think it's worth doing it, or
yeah,
or
we
no?
can. We can show them. Yeah.
So then have them if they can download that that ontology and load that into Protege, that would be great.
Yeah. So yeah, the ontology they can. Yeah. Okay. So let me just share with them the link. So
okay.
I think it's already there. Okay. Why chat box is not coming for me?
Oh, make sure you say to everyone, because that's before you and I were chatting.
Yeah.
No, no.
Yes. So this is the link. So from here, anyone can.
Oh wait, no, not Kodo. The into.
Oh, okay. So Into is already with them. I'm sorry. Into is already with them. They can just
Okay.
run it. It's already
Okay.
with them.
Okay, good.
With
So
lots of data inside. So yes, it's
sorry,
already there.
okay,
Sorry,
so yeah, so
I understood wrongly. Okay. Yeah, yeah. It's already with them. All of them have that.
okay, so just if you can load the into ontology into Protege, and then run the reasoner. And once you do that, you're going to want to add these two prefixes to your SPARQL query window. So I just ran the execute on the default query. So this is giving me again all the classes and that are subclasses of another class. So research associate is a subclass of, and again, this is the things with the little orange circles next to them. These are all anonymous classes. These won't show up directly in the class hierarchy, but again, they show up in the when we do queries, and they would show up in description logic queries as well. So I'm just going to do a couple of the SPARQL queries that I did in the presentation. Oops, I forget. So here's the first one. Select a researcher who has a research interest. So here you can see you've got all the researchers here, and then all the research interests on over in the second column. So the next one I'm going to do is this one, where I've got the first name, last name, and the age for everybody in the ontology. And again, remember, I use the semicolon, so I don't need to restate the subject in here. But now remember that because I didn't make this optional, I'm not going to get everybody, because I'm only going to get so it because without making it optional, it's got to satisfy every part of the where clause. So only people who have a first name, last name, and an age will be returned in this query. So you can see there's not very many people that have been returned. But if we want to get more people, we can make the age optional, like as follows. Okay, so exactly the same, except now this time the age part of the query is optional. So when I do that, so now you can see we get a lot more people. And you can see here we've got people that don't have an age, but now they still show up here in the as a result of the query. And now I'm going to do regex query. So this is going to give me anyone whose first name starts with K, and it's going to be case insensitive. Oops. Oh, I see what I did. There we go. Okay. Okay. So you can see we've got two people, Kieran and KS. Those are the only two people who satisfy this query. And so, by the way, this is a good example of where, like, a better way to do this. I mean, it doesn't matter because this is such a small ontology, but in general, like, a better way to do this this kind of a query rather than using regex would be to use substring and just take the first letter, and match it to K, and that is a little bit, it's faster than using regex. So the next one we're going to do is to find all of the students or all of the senior research fellows who are less than or equal to age 26. And we've got 3 of them here. And now we're going to do this query where we're going to find researchers who have research interest, some topic, and we're going to count the topics and return that ordered in descending order with a limit of 10. Okay, so we can see, like, DeBellis has the highest. He's got 4 research interests. Duran Kanta has 3, and so on. And if we change this to ASC, we get the same results, but now it's in ascending order rather than in descending order. And as I showed in the presentation, we don't even have to know about specific properties. So if we want to find all of the properties that and their values that relate to DeBellis, we can use this query here.
Sorry, it was
okay.
Anyway, I have muted. I think some of the participants they didn't realize that their mic is on.
Yeah, no problem. I know it happens all the time. At first I thought someone was really objecting. Anyway, so here, these are all the things that, so you can see we didn't need to know about any of the names of these properties. We just said, let's give us match all the properties and all the values that relate to, that have the subject of DeBellis DOS, and we got all these as results. So the next one we're going to do is all of the properties that relate to anyone who is who is an instance of the faculty class. So it has employment, type, affiliation, has research interest, and teaches course. And in the same way as we did with the other ontology, we can go and use the DL query. Similar to what we did there, you can say someone who's an instance of a friend of a friend person and has research interest, some research topic. Oh, I forgot. I've got, make sure you check the instances box again. So you can see we get, these are all the various, so there's a lot of subclasses of this expression. All these are subclasses of this expression. And then these are all the instances that satisfy this expression. And the last one I'm going to do is the events editor property. And so I guess I just wanted to show that in the DL query thing, if you don't know what the class, what the range of the property is, you can always just do some owl thing, or you can always do owl thing, and that will match for any value. So this is going to return any instance that has that is the value, that has a value for events editor. So, and I think these are different events. So how are we doing on time, Viswanath?
Yeah, we have good time. So we have still like half an hour time for this session. And yeah, for the next session, again, that's a different time slot we have. So
cool. Well, this time I think I'm going to finish early, but one thing I wanted to show is Allegro. So so this is the Allegro graph user interface. And I've already got the into ontology loaded here. And I won't go into all these are all commands you can use to like manage the triple store. I could talk forever about these, but but I won't. So instead I'm going to launch the graph. This is their visualization tool and query tool. And then from here, I go to the and I'm not going to paste these because I know you guys don't have this. And I'm just going to show this real quickly, but okay, so here's all the individuals who either have a supervisor or who have a research interest. And from this, I'm going to create a visual graph. And you can see here, so over here, I'll make this bigger. Over here on the left, you've got the two properties that are being shown. And then beneath that, you've got the key for the different, the classes of the different individuals that are shown. So this gentleman here is an assistant professor. This DeBellis is an associate professor. The things in orange are research topics. And one of the interesting things you can do with Gruff is you can click right and you can say display linked nodes from menu. And it will say as subject or object. Since it only says a subject, that means this is only a subject of things. It's not an object. And I'm going to select research interest. Oh, I've already displayed that. Okay, so that wasn't very interesting. Let me try. No. So now I've clicked on DeBellis and I'm going to select has qualification and I'm going to do all. So you can see now it's giving me all of his qualifications. And I'm going to click on this gentleman and say display notes from memory. He's both the subject and an object. Let's try doing object. Is affiliate is supervised. Oh, we've already got that. Okay, so this gives his qualifications, and one of the things I can do is I can redo the layout so it's more intuitive. No, that's not anything. And another thing I can do is I can click here and say, do the tree layout from the selected node. And I'm going to try one more thing. I can click on any two nodes. So I'm going to click on this and say, so this this shows all the connections on those predicates between these two people. So you can see it's added additional things here to highlight that. Okay, that's all I wanted to show from there. So I'm ready to go on to Swirl. You want to take a break, or should we just keep going?
Yeah, maybe we can do one thing. So we can do one thing, Michael. So since we have still time for this session, like almost like 20 minutes ahead of this session, so what we can do, so maybe we can take like a quick break, some 5 minutes break, because I know that you
Okay.
have to also go for sleep. So so we take a 5 minutes break and then we start the session. And of course, that may not be exactly the way that we have planned, but I think that's fine. So because we can continue and finish it up even before the time, so that everyone
Okay.
gets extra time. And even after that, so if they want to practice, they can practice, and you can also go for your early morning sleep.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Sounds
we
good.
take a 5 minutes break. Dear participants, so I think that's I think would be okay with you. I hope that. So just let us take a quick 5 minutes break and then we rejoin back. So now it's in Indian time. It's now 3:10 almost. And so by 3:15 we come back. Okay. And so that, and we continue the session. Okay. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Is the spiciness preference for the customer. So for that, I'm going to say pizza. Remember, that's the namespace preference. And I'm going to say has spiciness preference. And then see, you can see in the status here, it says expecting parentheses because it recognizes that as the name of a property. So I do open parentheses and I say C because I want to match. I want this to match also with the same customer. And then I say question mark, and I'm going to call this SP for spiciness preference. Okay, and then close the parenthesis. Okay. So the next thing I say another and. And so now I want to say if the customer has purchased more than one pizza, then that's we want to give them a discount. We don't want to give a discount to everybody, but we want to give a discount to people who have purchased more than one pizza. So to do that, I use a built-in, which is so I've got to preface that with SWRL, and I say greater than question number of pizzas and 1. And now finally, the last thing is I want, so remember we want to give a special discount to people who have a preference for hot pizzas. So we say, wait, no, yeah. Oh, I see. Actually, I did this incorrectly. So here, because we just want this to be hot, so this is an example of where we use a named individual instead of a parameter. Oh, sorry, I'm messing up. I apologize. It's 2 o'clock in the morning here, so I'm not at my best. So this is number of parameter, number of pizzas, and where I want to change is this. I want this to be hot. Okay, so because this is going to be just for people who like hot pizzas, and I think that's, yeah, good. And so that's the left-hand side of my rule. So it says for all customers, I first get the number of pizzas they've purchased. I check that their spiciness preference is equal to hot. And then I check that the number of pizzas, which I got found here, is greater than 1. Now, if all those things are satisfied, then I say pizza has discount, and for that customer, and I'm giving them a special discount of 20%. Actually, 0.2 of 20%, because I have a lot of jalapeno peppers that I overbought and I want to get rid of. Okay, so that's what your rule should look like. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, all right. So then you say, and notice that. So for example, if I just did this, now notice that this is not a syntactically correct rule, and so therefore here the OK is grayed out because it won't let me enter this. So it's only going to let me enter a rule if it's syntactically correct. So now it is syntactically correct, and I say OK, and I go to reasoner and I say synchronize the reasoner. And now if I go and look, so we can see here, customer number 1 has purchased 2 pizzas. So they satisfied that part of the rule, that they have purchased more than 1 pizza, and their spiciness preference is hot. So they satisfy that part of the rule. And so you can see they have a discount, which is 0.2 for a 20% discount. And notice that that's highlighted in yellow. So that's an inference of the reasoner. And if I click on the question mark, which is going to give me the explanation. Oh, it's giving me, sometimes this happens, there's an awful lot of explanations. I'm just going to say stop searching. So you can see here, the explanation is there's this rule, and plus the fact that customer number 1, number of pizzas purchased is 2, and customer number 1 has spiciness preference hot, and combined with this rule, that's an explanation for why this person now has a 20% discount. Okay. Next, now I'm going to actually, so now, because the next rule we're going to enter is very similar to this rule, we can just clone this rule. Okay, so hit clone. So select that rule and then hit the clone button. And so then you should get a copy of the hot discount rule, and it defaults to calling it S1, but we're going to change that. So then go click on that copy of the rule and edit it. So first of all, we're going to call this normal discount rule. Okay, and so now here, this is where, rather than saying that the preference is hot, we're going to create a new variable called SP for spiciness preference. We're still going to leave the greater than here. And let me just checking something. Right. So if you recall, we have is spicier than and is milder than properties that we define. So we're going to say pizza is milder than question mark spiciness preference hot, not hot, and then put another and. So this is what your normal discount rule should look like. Customer C, number of pizzas purchased is C and NP, has spiciness preference C and SP, is milder than SP hot. So in other words, the spiciness preference is going to be either medium or mild, and the number of pizzas is greater than 1. Oh, and then I also want to change the discount because for these people, I just want to give them a 10% discount. Okay, so any questions on that? Okay, so I'm going to just say okay on that. And again, remember, you don't need to worry about these rules buttons down here. All you need to do is go to the reasoner and say synchronize the reasoner, and it's synchronized. And if we go and no, not that one. Okay, so here we see that customer 5 has a spiciness preference of medium and has purchased 2 pizzas, which is more than 1. So therefore, they have discount. They've been given a 10% discount. And again, if we do a query, we see that our new rule has fired, and it uses the facts that the customer 5 has spiciness preference of medium. It knows that is milder than is inverse of in spicier than. Hot is spicier than medium. Combines all of those together to know that the medium is milder than hot. And number of pizzas purchased is 2, which is greater than 1. And so the rule was satisfied, and that's why this customer now has a 10% discount. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to use SPARQL to debug rules. So first of all, you want to go to Windows, tabs, and you want to go to the SPARQL tab. Okay, and then select that. So you can see the SPARQL tab looks a lot like the swirl tab. And now let's suppose that the hot discount rule isn't working the way I think it should be working. So I want to debug it. So to do that, I clone it again. So I hit select the hot discount rule, and I hit select clone, and that gives me a new copy called S1. So now I'm going to edit that, and I'm going to call it test hot discount rule. And all I do, I keep the left-hand side exactly as it is, but I change the right-hand side, and I put swirl :select, and I put in all of the variables that I want to see in my select statement. Now I could just put in this and this would work, but what I typically do is I put in all the variables. So I'm going to see, and you can put, the select will take an indefinite number of variables. The only requirement is obviously they all must be already defined on the left-hand side. So I'm going to do C, NP, and well, actually, I guess those are the only two I've got. Yeah. Okay. So now you can see this squirrel rule now is ready to go. So I say okay, okay, and now here squirrel is different than swirl. So so first of all, I'm going to run the reasoner just to make sure everything is consistent. Then the next thing I'm going to do, though, because when I run the reasoner, that doesn't fire my squirrel rules. Okay, the squirrel rules you have to run them individually. And so to get to run a squirrel rule, you first select it, and then you go down here and you hit the run button. Okay, and then if you notice what happened here is it creates a new tab. So this tab, this is giving me information about the execution of all my SQL queries. This SPARQL, this is part of the internal thing that relates to rules and stuff. And don't worry about that. But what you are interested in is this new tab, which was just created when I ran that test hot discount rule. Whenever you run a squirrel rule, it creates a new tab down here at the bottom with the name of that rule, and it shows you all of the different the values of all of the different parameters. So customer 4, number of pizzas was 3. Customer 1, number of pizzas was 2. And customer 8, number of pizzas was 2. I could do the same thing and clone the normal discount rule and edit that and say test normal discount rule. And again, I keep the left-hand side exactly as it was. I change the right-hand side. And I'm going to put in every parameter, spiciness preference, and number of pizzas. Okay, and then again, notice that the OK is grayed out here because this is not a syntactically correct rule yet, but when I hit the close paren, it is a syntactically correct rule now. So I say OK, and I can do the same thing, test the normal discount rule. Oh, wait. First of all, synchronize the reasoner. And okay, so test the normal discount rule. And why did that not happen? That's odd. this seems to be something's not working right. Okay. For some reason, it's not letting me. That's weird. I don't know why that's not working. Hmm. Oh. Okay, I see. Okay. Hmm. Okay, well, I'm not sure why this is not working. There's something wrong here. Sorry about that. But anyway, you get the idea, from at least from the test.discount rule. Okay, any questions? If there's no questions, then I'm going to go on to the SHACL part.
Michael, a second. So anyone,
Yeah.
please, if you have any doubt or anything that you want Michael to repeat or show you something either from the SPARQL or from the SWRL. So, or if you have any, issue with, kind of conceptual issue, so you can actually ask him. Okay. Otherwise, you will be going to the next topic. Okay. So, is there any
Professor,
question? Yeah.
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 this
Please.
seems to be working. I think you'll have to change the tab to SQWRL queries and then do a run. It would work, I guess.
Yeah, I tried that, but it's not, oh wait, maybe. Okay. Well, I'm glad it's working for you.
Yeah, it did work.
Uh, for some reason, it's not working for me. But good. I'm glad it worked. What matters is it works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, so I select it and I hit run, and I'm getting error messages, and I should be getting a window here that says test normal discount rule, but for some reason I'm not. I don't know. Yeah, it's just something screwy going on with my system, I guess. But I'm glad it worked for you. I mean, it should. I've used Squirrel many times before, and I've written multiple rules, and there's normally not a problem with it. But I just something
This
seems
this is
messed up in
like,
my system.
This is very common, like when you want to show the live demo.
Yeah, exactly.
There is some issue. I don't know. This happens, I think, with every one of us, right? Whenever we want to show some demos, some very small things will come up, pop up, and it will not work. So I think
Yeah, whenever you do a live demo, whatever can go wrong will.
So at least the things that the same code is working for someone else. So that's
Yeah.
a good sign. So at least that means it's fine. It's working only. It's probably the system environment issue. So, but I think that's okay. So that happens. Yeah,
It may, well, I don't know. I don't know why it's not working for me, but like I said, I'm glad it's working for you. Any other questions or comments before I go on to SHACL? And also, I want to remind people, if you want to see more examples of swirl rules, you can look at. I put in the chat and a URL to a post on my blog with a swirl tutorial. for process modeling. I mean, it's not a, it's a very toy process model example, but it's just another example if you want to get some more experience with writing swirl rules. I mean, I think in general you'll find swirl is, except for this example here, it's a very elegant language, and once you start using it, I like it quite a bit.
Michael, so I think since there are no other questions, and so I think we can proceed to the next topic.
Okay.
Yep.
The next thing is
so we can ask one thing that to the participants whether they got it installed, that SHACL tab that on Protege, because on the first day itself we set them to get it installed. So anyone,
right.
you can show that plugin that
Okay.
on the Protege interface, so that we can reconfirm whether some of them didn't do. In that case, they can just quickly get it installed and restart the Protege, because they have to again restart the system.
Okay. So this is what actually your SHACL actually. So go to Windows, tabs, and then you should see SHACL editor if you've got it installed. And if you don't see it, then you need to go to the file, preferences, and sorry.
Now plugins, check for plugins.
Yeah, check for plugins. File, check for plugins, and it will. It should show up if it's not already installed. It's taking a little bit of time to come up, but.
Is there anyone that don't have these SHACL, so that we can wait for a couple of maybe minutes so that everyone get it installed? Is there anyone? Please, you can unmute, or you can use the chat box to post that that you need some time to get it installed. Otherwise, Michael will be proceeding with that. No, so I think all of them have that. It seems.
Okay.
Yep. So
hang on, I've got to find my chat window. There we go. So also you should load this this file as well. Download this file. So this has the SHACL shapes that you will need. Oops. Oh, crap. And just a second, I'm going to, just because I was having some problems there before, I'm just stopping all my the running versions of Protege that I have and restarting it just in case there was something wrong with my version of Protege. Maybe restarting it might help. Okay. So if you don't already have it, actually you probably do, go to the pizza tutorial with data. That's actually where we use Word. So I imagine people are already there. Okay. And go to the SHACL editor and go to open and go and find that file no, okay, where the heck did that go? Sorry, just a second. There we go. Okay, so find this pizzashapes.txt file and open that file in the SHACL editor. So you open and then navigate to that file and open that file. And so this is what you will see. So I'm going to maximize this. To begin with, this probably all looks familiar by now. You've got prefixes. So this is a shape. This syntax is the same, is really the same as what you use in SPARQL. So this is saying that I'm creating a something called employee shape, which is an instance of the class SH node shape. And then the parentheses here means that all the rest of these properties are going to be properties that hold for this new instance of SH node shape called employee shape that I'm creating. So the first property is target class, which is pizza employee. So that means that it's going to be this shape is defining constraints for this class. Okay, and then the next property is just called its SH property, and this is something called a blank node, which sometimes in SPARQL you will, or here you will create an object that doesn't need to be referenced anywhere except within inside the current object that you're at, and so you don't bother naming the node, and that's called a blank node. That's what this is. The things within brackets. This is it. So this is still an instance, but it's not an instance of any type. That's why if you recall in my presentation, although I went through it pretty quickly, the types of these things, there was no type for these blank nodes, and they have this one has 3 different properties which define. So anything that's the value of property is a constraint, and this is defining a new constraint. The path defines the thing that's being constrained, which needs to be a property of the employee class. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. So the other property here is SH target class. Oh, no, I did mention that. So it's employee, and then the next thing is the property, which defines a constraint. The path describes the property, the data property that the constraint is about, which is SSN, and the constraint is min count 1 and max count 1. So that means this is essentially saying that all instances of the employee class must have a minimum and a maximum of 1 value. So in other words, they must have exactly 1 value. The next constraint says that again, it's a constraint on the social security number property, and this time the constraint says that the data type has to be of type XSD string, and it said it also must correspond to this pattern, which is 3 numbers followed by a dash, followed by 2 numbers, followed by a dash, and then followed by 4 numbers. And the severity is warning. And on these, when I didn't define the severity, the default severity is warning anyway. And the next one down is, it's another constraint. This time it's on the phone that has phone property. And this is just saying that there must be a minimum count of 1 value for the phone. And then finally, I've got another constraint here. Again, this one is on the phone property, saying that the data type must be a string, and it must be follow the pattern of 3 digits, followed by a dash, followed by 3 digits, followed by a dash, followed by 4 digits. And again, severity here is warning. Closed is true. So that means that if there are any other properties of the employee class that have, or of instances of the employee class that have values, then that's going to trigger a warning. Although I also put in the ignored properties, these properties, because these properties are going to hold for any object, but I'm telling SHACL, I need to tell SHACL to ignore these properties because these properties will have values, but I don't need to describe any constraints on them because these are all just going to be set automatically. But because the shape is closed, I do need to say to ignore these because otherwise we would get warnings about that these things had values, but they weren't included in the shape. So in other words, when it's closed, it's saying that everything, the only properties that can have values are properties that are described within the shape. Okay. Now, does that make sense so far? Or I guess I should put it the other way. Does anyone have questions on any of that so far? And in fact, actually, as long as I've got time, let me go back because I kind of ran through my my SHACL presentation. Let me just go through and show so this is something I did in Gruff to get all the nodes that were associated with the pizza ontology. And here, so this is showing like a graphical view of the, so that employee shape that I was just showing you, this is a graphical view of that shape. Okay, so here is the shape itself. You can see it's of, it's an instance of the class node shape. It has a target class of the employee class. An employee is an OWL class. And then all these properties, and by the way, I don't understand why they call, to me, this is a very confusing name, calling these properties. I would call this constraints or something like that, but whatever, they decided to call it property. But essentially, remember, it's especially confusing because it's not an OWL property, it's a SHACL property, which is a different thing. And a SHACL property is essentially the equivalent of the definition of a constraint. I hope that makes sense. And so you can see that all these anonymous things here, which is anon 131 and anon 130, these are those blank nodes that we were looking at before. These are the things that can define the constraint. And you can see, so remember the one constraint on the, these links, whoops, forgot I'm not in, these links are the path. So these constraints are about the social security number data property, and the max count must be 1, and the min count must be 1. In other words, it's got to be exactly 1. Whereas this constraint for the phone that has phone property is all I've defined here is just the min count. And I've also defined the pattern for both of these. This is the pattern for the social security number. This is the pattern for the phone number. And I've also defined the severity for both of these to be warning. And then this is the customer shape. And the main difference here is that on has discounts, notice it says max inclusive and min inclusive. So this is max inclusive is 1.0, min inclusive is 0.0. And so min count and max count, those are constraints on the number of values that the property can have. So now the has discount property doesn't have any constraints on the number of values. But the max inclusive and min inclusive properties, those are constraints on the value, on the numeric. So it's got to be a numeric data property. And those are constraints on the minimum and the maximum value as opposed to the number of values. And so since it's a percentage, the value has to be between 0 and 1. Yeah. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, so now we'll go back. We're going to go back here. And now we're going to say, yeah, and just, so here's the customer shape again. Notice this one is not closed because there are some other properties that are not included in the customer shape. So I made the closed set to false. But you can see here, this is just what you're looking at here is just the text version of what the graph that I just showed you. So now I'm going to click on validate. Oh, it says I've got to run the reasoner first. So run the reasoner. Okay, now click on validate. And you can see down here, and unfortunately, you know, this is actually, the one thing I'm going to do is move this over this way to give me as much room as I can. And you don't really need to know the severity. We don't really need to know the source. What we do need to know is, we don't really need to know the focus node. Well, actually, yes, we do. Yeah, no, we do need to know that. And okay, so yeah, that's about. Move this over as much as I can. Okay, and by the way, there may be, I think actually in your user interface, there are probably some views over on the right-hand side. You can get rid of those if you see the X here, or actually let me show it down here. I'm not going to click on it because I don't want to get rid of this one. But if you have additional views over on the right-hand side here, what I would recommend you do is just you delete those by clicking the X on the views, and that'll give you more room down here, because the way this interface is right now, it's not the greatest, and it's not that easy to really see what the messages are. Okay, so now we're seeing these messages. So one of them is on the chef instance, and it says property. So it's on the social security number property, and it says property may only have one value, but found 2. And so if I go to the individuals by class, and I go to the employees, and I go and click on the chef, and I see he indeed does have two values for the social security number, and so that's why we have this a warning. And the next one is on the has phone for waiter 2. You can see that the message is property needs to have at least one value, but found 0. And if we go back here and we go to waiter 2, you can see here there's no values. So that's why we got that error message. Let's see, and the same thing for also for waiter 2. Yeah, this is also for waiter 2. We got the same message for social security number. Needs to have at least one values, but found 0. And again, go back here, we see waiter 2, there's no value. And now if we go to manager, we see that for social security number, wait, is this now for phone? You'll notice so that the value is 415 and 555 4567, but there's no dash in between here. So the value doesn't match the pattern that was specified, and so that's why we got the error message here. And the same thing for waiter 1. This is the their social security number, just as 1 2 3 4 5 6 6 6, but there's no dashes. So again, it does not match the pattern, and that's why we got the warning message that we got. Does anyone have any questions on that? Okay, so now we're going to go to the customer class. So I just went over here and I clicked on customer, and now that's taken me to the warning message I have for the customer class. So here, customer 3 needs to have at least one value for has phone, but doesn't have any. If I go back to the individuals by class, and I go to customer, and I click on customer 3, you can see again there's no value for the phone. That's right. And then the next one is for customer 10. So for this one, this is for the discount. Let me make this. So this is for has discount, and you can see this is for let's see, for customer 10. So for customer 10, the discount is 2, which of course doesn't make sense. You wouldn't want to discount more than 100%. And so that's why we have the value is not less than or equal to 1 for the value of their discount. And then finally, for customer 2, their phone, again, it doesn't correspond to the proper pattern, and we got the error message that value does not match the pattern for customer 2. So that shows you, now these things would be difficult or impossible to represent in OWL, in description logic, and there's also the point, as I said before, that sometimes even if you can represent them, you don't always want to represent them, because if you're going to have messy data, you don't want to have your ontology be inconsistent all the time, because you're constantly getting bad data. So this is actually something that was kind of interesting to me the first time I went from just using OWL for academic projects to a really large client, seeing how messy the data was and realizing that in the real world there's kind of a trade-off between how much you can specify in terms of description logic without getting to the point where you're going to be constantly having your ontology be inconsistent. But it's a trade-off. Yeah, so I think that's all I had to say about SHACL. Are there any other questions either about SHACL in general or actually I know. Well, first of all, let me say, does anyone have any any questions? Okay, so one other thing, as long as we've got, we still have some time, right,
Michael, there is a question on the chat box.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I
can read it for you. So
that's okay, I can bring it up.
Yeah.
Can we use OWL and, yes, you absolutely can use OWL and SHACL at the same time. I mean, so in fact, I'm using OWL and SHACL at the same time right now. So like if you look at these classes, I've got these all these description logic axioms, and remember that when we did this tutorial before, how the ontology, the reasoner restructured the classes based on the declaration. So you can see that's still happening, right? It's so the reasoner is definitely still working. OWL is definitely still working at the same time as I'm using SHACL. In fact, they're really completely, so there's no conflict whatsoever. It's just that the SHACL file, the SHACL information is in a different file, but you just load that in and then you point it as part of the SHACL file. You have a pointer to the data, the classes in the data file that you want to access, and you have to have them both up at the same time, at least when you're doing it in Protege. Actually, no matter where you do it, you have to have them both loaded at the same time. But yeah, you absolutely can use them both at the same time. I mean, you can see here like that the reasoner is still using the description logic axiom to restructure the ontology, and also if you see, there's some, yeah, so you can see here that this cheesy pizza 1 has been the reasoner, it's noticed that it's highlighted in yellow. So that shows that it's been, it's information that was put there by the reasoner. And unfortunately, I got rid of my swirl rules, but if I still had my swirl rules, they would also be working as well. But you can see that all these things that are highlighted in yellow, those are all inferences from the reasoner, and so that's all a result of using description logic in OWL, and at the same time as I'm also using SHACL. You absolutely can use them both at the same time. Let me see. Are there any other? Okay. Any other questions? Biswana. So I also developed an example of SHACL in for the into ontology. I mean, if you want, I can show that. Or
Yeah, you can go ahead. We have time, so probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So I'm going to quit this, and I like to restart Protege, especially since it was giving me problems. So I'm going to load the into ontology. Okay, and then I'm going to run the reasoner. And now I'm going into the SHACL editor, and I'm going to open I've got to navigate back to into shapes .text. Okay, so here you can see I've got shapes. Actually, also let me hang on a second. Yeah. So if you want this file for the into shapes, sorry, everyone, there we go. So if you want this file for the into shapes, here's the URL for it. And you can see essentially it's this, I've done similar things. I've defined constraints for the employee class, and I've defined a publication shape for the publication class. And I've said that each publication must have a minimum of one publication date. And I've made it closed because there's a lot of properties. In both cases, there's a lot of properties that are not being referenced. And if I hit validate, so you can see there's a lot of, this is because there's a lot of publications that these are for employees. So this is for, so these are all the employees that don't have, I think this is for, that don't have phone numbers. So that's giving me messages for all the employees that don't have phone numbers. And if I go to
Professor,
yes.
actually the file you shared, it's saying it's invalid. The file does not exist at that location.
Oh, okay.
Michael, maybe you can copy paste here.
Yeah, it's not that big a
Yeah, it's not a very big one, so I think you can copy paste.
Okay, good idea. Okay, there you go. So it looks like I think that all the publications let's see, have.
Yeah, that's mostly is empty. Basically.
Oh, is it because okay,
yeah,
that's why. Okay, so so there's no pub. So but you saw for the employee
maybe
shape.
research interest, you can add that for that shape. Maybe that may give a better result.
Change this to research interest.
Yeah, so you can directly copy the property from the object property tab directly, so that we don't do the mistake. Yeah, of course you can, of course you can change that. Yeah.
Okay, so wait, I'll do it like that. Okay, and research interest. And what kind of properties does the research interest have?
So I think has research interest. You can go to the object property tab. Yeah. So I think has interest. Has research interest or something. Just a second.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Has
Yeah. Has research
interest.
interests. Yeah.
So this would be. So I think I want the research interest of, because it's got to be has research interest is about the researcher. Yeah. Okay. Actually, that's research topic. Yeah, research topic. Okay. Let's see what happens. Huh. Oh, I think I need to. Yeah. Okay. So here we go. So I define the constraint on research topic that the research interest of property needs to have at least one value, and we found that for all metrics and next generation catalog, there were two violations of that because neither one of those have any research interest of value. Okay, that's all I've got. Does anyone have any more questions?
Michael, one thing
Yeah.
I was thinking, see, this SPARQL ask also, right? That form, ask form, right? So that gives us the Boolean result. And
Right.
so I was thinking that the functionality wise, I think it's like more, of course, that gives only in the, in Boolean the answer. Of course, it doesn't say it doesn't give you, give the complete view.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I think the functionality wise quite same, the validation, that when it comes to the
Oh
validation, right? So
yeah, actually I'm glad you mentioned that because that was something I had in my presentation, but that because we were running short of time, I skipped over it. So I wanted to mention that actually, yeah, I mean, at least in my limited experience, you know, I've mentioned this one big client that I was working with the Allegro graph product, and we ended up using SPARQL. So one of the things that they were really interested in, that they are really interested in, is data validation. But we decided to use SPARQL rather than SHACL for the time being, because the tools are more, you know, SPARQL is much more mature than SHACL is. Like the only really sophisticated tool for SHACL is from a company called TopGrade, and they wanted to. The client was also interested in like really high performance knowledge graphs, and for that they felt that the performance of Allegro graph was better than the performance of TopGrade. Also, TopGrade was extremely expensive. Anyway, I mean, I'm not trying to badmouth. You know, I'm just saying this is one specific example. It could be different, but my point is that there's a lot of. I agree with what you're saying. Is that there? I think it's more than just ask. That in fact, if you read one of the references I had for SPARQL. I'm sorry, boy, it's getting late and my brain's getting fried, but Learning SPARQL by Bob Ducharme. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's a very famous. We referred that.
If you read that book, he has a whole section on, and he wrote that book, I think, before SHACL was really completely defined. And he has a whole section in that book about how you can use SPARQL for data validation, for both, you know, determining if some data is invalid, and for doing transformations to make it valid. You know, there are some things like coercing things to the right data type and things like that. So anyway, I'm just saying I agree with you absolutely that there's a lot of overlap between SPARQL and SHACL, and that I think my opinion is in the real world right now, a lot of people are using SPARQL where, you know, SHACL is quote unquote the right tool, but because it's newer, for now, a lot of people are using SPARQL.
I do feel that with my limited knowledge to SHACL, so by looking at what I know, of course, SPARQL I know, I think, better than SHACL. But yes, with that, I feel always that I think SHACL still, of course, needs the maturity technology wise, because SPARQL is much more mature. And also another thing is that the tool support, because, you know, even for, you know, basically when we talk about the open source solution, or like a free solution, free tools, then SHACL has a limitation, right? Still, we don't have enough tools. Like TopGrade, of course, is very expensive, right? Again, I mean, this is an excellent tool, but TopGrade we cannot afford, right? It's very expensive tool. Allegro graph, the same thing. So, so they might have the like a little relatively sophisticated system, but yes, I think. For Protige users, it's still, I think, a long way to go for the better tool support, at least. So I think meanwhile that even SPARQL, I think this kind of validation work, I think SPARQL is much better in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree. I mean, I had in my somewhere in one of my presentations that I skipped over. You know, I would recommend if someone's looking for a good PhD topic, I think creating like you know, there needs to be like this tool, this SHACL editor. I mean, I think a better name for this would be SHACL validator rather than SHACL editor,
exactly,
because it's not really an editor, right? And what you need is something that's like Protege, where it's a WYSIWYG, you know, editor like Protege for creating SHACL graphs, and TopGrade has that, but they don't have a free version of their product. They discontinued support for the free version, and the only free version they have, it stops it's a 30-day evaluation trial period, and then after 30 days, it doesn't work anymore. So there's really nothing, for if you're going to create SHACL graphs, you've got to do it by hand, which is not fun.
If you want a top rate, you again reformat your system, then again you run every 30 days you format. In fact, actually, I used to do that. In fact, during my PhD, that time also top grade was available, like it was around 2006, 7, 8 during that period. So I used to do like that time we were crazy, like almost like every weekend we used to format our system. So top grade I was using for couple of months. I was like, every time I used to format after 30 days and then again reinstall again format. So I think I did.
That's hilarious. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's always ways around it. Yeah. That's cool.
But that's an excellent tool. I mean, anyone interested to really understand that how top grade works in compared to Protige. Of course, Protige is an open source solution, so there is no comparison in that point of view. But if it comes to the business, then yes, top grade has plenty of features. And it's really very enriched one.
Yeah, yeah. It does a lot more than
that's simply modeling. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it's got all these enterprise-wide things for doing validation of all your enterprise data. So it's a really powerful tool, for corporations. I can understand why a lot of corporations are using it.
Yeah, right. So I think you have a question on the chat box. So is it 3 a.m. morning in there, sir? I thank you very much for your effort. Okay, someone is saying, okay, now you may go now. It's but there is, okay, so sorry, in the okay, so now another question. Actually the question is like, can you repeat the name of the book that you mentioned? That's SPARQL, that Learning SPARQL, that by Bob. That's the, I think she wants to know. Oh yeah, you have already given. Yeah, that's So
I really highly recommend that book. It's also great just for getting a handle on, like, the triple, just the way triple stores represent data and things. I like it a lot.
Yeah. So are there any questions? Otherwise, I think we are quite early, of course, today, but yes, I think we also continued without a break. Only 5 minutes break we had. So are there any question? If you want to clarify anything, any idea with him related to these things, whatever he covered, or any other thing?
Sir, in the Allegro presentation you have shown once, the relationship between students and professors. So when you are putting your cursor on a name, there is some embedded informations were showing. So I just wanted to know that informations was like you have made in a repository before, or you have run a query for that in the Allegro graph?
When I did the query in Allegro graph, I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand. Could you repeat the question?
Just in when you are putting your cursor on the name and something like a second auth or something, so some embedded informations were showing that that was in, you have prepared in a repository kind of thing, or for that you need a query in the Allegro graph?
Oh, no. So what I did was, and I did this before, in fact, here, let me go to,
yeah, here only.
Oops, that's not what I want. Well, here, let me go to this. Oh, there it is. Okay. So what I did, and I did this before.
Your screen is not visible, Michael. I think you have to share your screen.
Okay.
I think you closed your screen.
Did I? Okay. Hang on. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. And there. So what I did beforehand was I went and I loaded, so see how it says import RDF here? So you can go here and you can say from an uploaded file. And I went here and I chose the file and then I uploaded it. And so I'd already uploaded that data into Allegro graph. And then so that's why it says 2,732 statements. That's what happens after you load the file. It tells you how many statements, and then that's when you can launch the visualization tool.
So Michael, I think she wanted to, if you go to that graph, yeah. So what she was telling that I think that if you hover the mouse over the node, any node, so we see some information, right?
Right now it's not showing, but before and there was a.
It will be showing. It's just yeah. You have to hover the mouse over the any of the nodes, that we get the information, right? That what's coming from our repository that we had already the data inside.
Right.
Yeah, I think, madam, you wanted to know that from where that's already in our into ontology, right? That the one you have. It's all coming from there. I mean, that's any visualization, even that OntoVis that you saw on Protige. So there also, if you hover the mouse, you will see some kind of information, that data which are not shown, like not statically shown on the figure. But if you just hover the mouse, you will see that it's like popping up. So, but of course, there is no comparison between OntoVis and Graph, because Graph is highly enriched tool in that way. Yeah, but what you, madam, wanted to know actually from where the information is coming, like, but it is it automatically comes.
It's a query or is a repository that has.
Yeah, it was all. Okay. Yeah, it is coming from that.
So it's coming from. It's the same. This is exactly the same ontology as the one that you guys loaded into Protege. It's just that this is a different way of visualizing the data. That's all.
Yeah, I think that's.
Thank you.
Okay, is that what? Okay, good.
Are there any other questions?
I have one query on the DL query and the SPARQL. Is it what do you say? Is it that SPARQL is not working with the reasoner and the DL query is working with the reasoner? It is it's because of it's a feature of Protege, or it's like that with SPARQL and
no.
Well, it's a limitation of the SPARQL implementation in Protege. Okay, so for example, in Allegro graph, when I run the reasoner in Allegro graph, then I do SPARQL queries in Allegro, it knows about everything that the reasoner has inferred. Okay, but it's a limitation of this particular tool, this SPARQL query tool that is in Protege, that it doesn't recognize the information from the reasoner.
Yeah, but madam, that there is another SPARQL view is there. So that's called Snap SPARQL. That actually works on your reason knowledge. So if you have already started your reasoner, and that it does all the inferencing. So if you want to make a query, there you can make that query that will be running on the inferred data only. So
it is
it's there already. So Michael, can you show that? Go to the window and
actually,
show that.
I didn't know that.
This is
so
the
here's,
one. Yeah,
here's
the
Snap SPARQL query. So I didn't know that this one uses
it works on the inferred knowledge only.
Cool. Okay. So so then this one actually would have been a better one to use for the demo then. And in fact, for your use, I would recommend then you use this one instead.
Yeah. Sometimes that, that it's generally we don't refer it because it becomes like a little bit heavy if you have the huge data set on your system loaded. And then it becomes a little bit, time consuming. The computational time increases. And so generally that's why it's not referred. So the basic queries, SPARQL queries, the tab that we get, that's sufficient. But if we really want like little to work on the inferred knowledge, yes, then this is the suggestion.
Yeah. Oh, and also I should point out, I don't think that, so this is on, set up on my environment. I think that you have to set it up on your, like I've customized my interface to make this here. I think to get it, you've got to go to views and query views, and then go to snap SPARQL query. And then remember how we customized the interface to add the instances by class in the individuals by class. We added this individuals by type. So you need to do the same thing, I think. Add the snap SPARQL query to some part to one of your tabs. I put it here because I think it makes sense, to have it with the DL next to the DL query. But I'm not sure, but I don't think it comes by default. I think you have to.
Yeah, you have to activate that view.
Activate it.
Yeah, you have to activate that view, because that even in the tab, it doesn't have any separate tab like SPARQL has. That SPARQL query, the basic one, has the tab. So for Snap, we have to just activate that view. And generally, I put it on the SPARQL query tab, but anyway, anywhere it can be placed. So, but I think it makes more sense to put it here because you have both the queries that where it's working on the inferred knowledge. Yeah. Any other question? Otherwise, we can, I think, close 1 hour before this. Any question? Okay, so if there are no questions, so I have a small announcement. So Michael, you may stay still just for 2-3 minutes, and then we will close the meeting. Or if you want to go away, that's also okay, because I know that it's very late for you.
Yeah, actually, I'm pretty tired.
Okay, please go. Okay, so thank you very much once again, and we will be talking offline. Yeah, okay. Right, as we do. Okay. Sure. So thank you very much, and good morning or good night. I don't know what to say, but I'm saying good morning.
Thank you. All right. See ya.
Yeah. See you. Bye. Thank you very much. Yeah. So so we are almost like end of this 4th day session. So now we have couple of announcements for tomorrow's work. So what we do tomorrow, that we have like, hackathon session. Of course, we will be starting our day with a keynote speak, and that's also again from a very prestigious academicians, a retired professor from University of South Carolina. Professor Amit Seth is a very senior professor. Probably you can see his Google Scholar, profile. So with that talk, we'll start. But then, as you can see from our program files, that program schedule, that we have some hackathon sessions, right? So the hackathon session, maybe some of you may have some curiosity, or some of may have some confusion. So this is just to say that in that session, the idea is that basically that whatever we learned in the last 4 days, including 2 days, so we will be doing some exercise, and I think we have already forwarded you a single use cases, though we had some couple of them, but it's already one is shared with you. So that you can go through that, and then you try to think of modeling, okay, and try to think of that what kind of data actually you can put inside. So that would be really like a fun, that how to do, how to really develop the models, because what you learned so far is basically, we tried to give you that idea in a sense that how basically this technology works. But now I think it's on your part now, so that, and of course we will be doing together. And so the idea is that you all go through it and try to think of something and come out with your own model and come out with some very basic data. And then if you can apply some of the technologies that you have learned in these last 4 days, you do it. If you want to do it manually or automatic way, do it, it's okay. And then some other technologies like querying and all, just to see that how much actually we could learn in last 4 days. Though I know that it's not so easy, because in our semester generalities, I offer this semantic web course in our for our students, and that we generally take the entire semester to cover half of these technologies that we have covered in 4 days, and some of them even I don't cover even. Okay, generally we never covered in our class semester. So anyway, so the idea is that please go through it, read it, try to understand, make some model, like some small ontology kind of things. If you can come out, then tomorrow we together see. Okay, and another information is that we have already shared the, okay, we are going to share with you the Google feedback form. That's for us basically, more than you. So far we have supplied you a lot of resources. Now it's time for us to receive some kind of resource, but that's like as a kind of input, what you think, and some kind of feedback from Google form we will be sharing with you. And please give your feedback on that, so that we will be really grateful to you all, that if you can spend some time and give your feedback about this entire workshop, or any particular component of this workshop, or in future how you think that it, I mean, basically how it could have been, or how we can actually even in the future can make it so that it would be more useful for the participants as per your own view. Okay, so yeah, these are the things. So if you have any question or anything, so you may unmute yourself and ask me. Otherwise we meet tomorrow. And there is a question on the chat box. Okay, so it's, of course, it is, could we have recording for all? Yeah, recordings we will be doing, I mean, sharing with you all. Just only thing is that please give us some time, because you know that we are recording the almost like sessions wise. I mean, not session wise, like a half day or full day wise. So it's a very large data. So we have to split it maybe by talk wise. So we have to see that, and that will surely is going to take a couple of days time. So but be sure that we will be sharing with you the video recordings. However, all the PPTs that whatever we have received already we shared with you, and the other things whatever not yet shared will be shared with you within a couple of days, maybe 1 or 2 days. Okay, so any questions? If you have any questions, any doubt, anything you want to know from us, yeah, please go ahead. Otherwise we just close today's session, and tomorrow we start with this keynote talk. Okay, so there are no questions. So in that case, we can stop here today. So thank you all once again, and have a nice day. Good evening. And so we will meet again tomorrow morning at by 9:05. Okay, and you can use the same link. We are going to keep the same link. Okay. So thank you very much once again. Have a nice day. Bye bye.